Hello, this is Frank Ricotta, and I'm here on the Traders Network, broadcasting worldwide on equities.com. And we're here at Davos 2019, the World Economic Forum. And today we're going to follow up with Ben Yablon, the founder, founder and chairman of Salt Lending. Hey Ben, there's a lot of interesting aspects within the crypto market and the blockchain market, and some really, really tough problems. And Salt has definitely addressed one of those tough problems, and that being custody. Can you explain to our viewers what that really means?
Absolutely. So one of the most important aspects of crypto assets is the fact that they are custodial in nature, meaning that you can possess the assets yourself. If you have the private keys, then you have functional control over those assets. That's an amazing and important phenomenon. It's also very dangerous. If you lose the key, you lose the asset. So in many ways, what the crypto revolution has done is allow for the possession of unique and insular digital assets, but many people don't want to actually have that full control all the time. There are many use cases now around requirements to safely store those assets with a third party, and how you do that and how you do it effectively is something that we've been working very hard on the last year.
I mean, throughout the last year, there's been a handful of stories about people losing access to their currency, potentially getting stolen because of access, other people accessing their personal wallets.
Absolutely.
Do you think like a custodial service, if you plan on holding crypto, addresses this type of problem?
It does. It really creates a situation in which these assets can be stored safely and securely. And from the regulatory standpoint, this becomes a very interesting question as well. What we've seen over the last year is a framework developed globally, spearheaded by the OECD, around how to safely store and appropriately house digital assets. And that's vitally important if you're a regulated financial entity that's holding these assets. You have a requirement to use a custodial service. So whether you're just uncomfortable holding them yourself because it's a significant amount of value, or you have a legal and regulatory requirement to hold them with a custodian, the demand is there. The market needs this, and very few other companies have approached it the way we have. We've developed something very interesting.
So you hit something very interesting, and we see organizations like the OECD, and you reside in Mauritius, right? And the Mauritian government addressing this from a broad-based regulatory issue and actually a service. So what's the difference between what is traditional custodial service in the financial market and crypto custodial services? What's alike and what's different?
So it's similar in that the legal requirements are very crossover between both paradigms, but the technical specifications around how you do this are different. So this is unique key storage, and these are assets that exist digitally. There are not physical representations of these assets. So unlike a traditional stock model, you have an actual stock certificate in many cases that is stored in a particular place. With a Bitcoin or with ETH, wherever the private keys reside is where that asset would technically live.
And there's no such thing as reversing a transaction at this point in time, right? Once a transaction happens, it happened.
Exactly right. So there's full and final settlement. That's an amazing and powerful thing, but it's also a potentially terrifying thing, and one that creates some systemic risk for regulated financial entities that are in the space now. So in order to address that risk, qualified custodianship has become vitally important, and insurance products coming in to underwrite the qualified custody are also developing.
All right, so let me turn the focus a little bit back to Salt, because unlike many of your competitors, you actually have some really, really cool technology under the covers. A lot of the other competitors it's really just a pure service. They're outsourcing a lot of the actual custodial services. Salt took a different approach.
We did.
So starting with the name. So tell us a little bit about what not going across the NDA line. I'm not going to make you do that as we're broadcasting around the
that.
world. But what's the special sauce in salt? What makes your technology so special?
So fundamentally, there were no tech solutions. There were no off-the-shelf solutions that we could go out and deploy. We needed to build everything, and because we had to build everything, we've now created the ability for 2019 to be a major SaaS year for us. We're looking at the ability to plug and play different pieces of our technology stack into many different traditional financial verticals. On the custody front, we have always taken a very strong stand on segregating accounts, and many of the folks out there in the space aren't doing that. They're commingling the assets, and that's not only dangerous. That's not a good thing. So we've taken a very strong stance on how you segregate these things, how each HD wallet is being generated is really. I don't want to get into the secret sauce, but that's.
Well, that in
that's what
itself is very
differentiates
powerful
ourselves.
because what we've seen from a security and vulnerability perspective in the industry when we've had these major breaches, it's because really it was the custodial service behind the scene are these common online wallets that were in essence hacked,
Right.
exposing the entirety of the asset base they were holding versus maybe just one wallet or one user's account.
That's exactly right. So if you were to compromise a wallet on our platform, it's one wallet. You don't have access to anything other than what was held in that unique address. And that's never happened. That has also never happened, which is a real statement on how seriously the tech team has taken this process and what a great job they've done deploying it.
Right. So looking forward, what do you see both in the future from a market perspective, and three dimensions here, from a market perspective, from a regulatory maturity perspective, when are you going to see some of the first major regulatory and policy guidance hit the street from the standpoint of adoption, and then finally, what do you see happening with this really cool platform you built with Salt?
Well, I could go on for like an hour on this question. I would say that what we're witnessing, first and foremost, that's of vital importance, is the introduction of a taxonomy. We have, led by the OECD, led by some of the folks at WEF and some guys at UN, some agreement on common terms and common legal standards. And that cuts across the industry, that is specific to how tokens are issued and generated, and that also touches on custody and how custody is going to be deployed in a safe and compliant way. That's probably kind of boring for some people, but if you're in this business, that's a massively important change because you really can't scale a business in an atmosphere of regulatory uncertainty. So
that's right.
As we see some certainty injected into these markets broadly through regulation, you know where to go set up shop and how to do it. So it's a tremendous opportunity for 2019, and we're going to see a lot of M&A activity in 19 as well.
That's great. And again, without sharing something you shouldn't, what do you think the big thing for Salt's going to be this year?
The biggest thing for Salt this year is going to be deploying custody. That's on everybody's mind. And really being able to meet the market demand. We had an enormous surge of demand early on. Last year was a very difficult year for cryptos generally. I think that this year we're seeing things begin to turn around and correct, and the demand for products is ticking up gradually this time, which is good, and we're able to meet it.
What I find what's very interesting, you're definitely one of the companies that have weathered the storm, from the highs down to the lows, and it really takes some adaptation to market to really survive. And I think you at Salt, you and the team at Salt has done an incredible job in doing that, not only meeting demand of and addressing the asset-backed loans, but really creating and bringing forth some of the underlying technology and creating new products that the industry so desperately needs for mainstream adoption.
Right.
I want to thank you for that. And so we're going to wrap up now, and this is Frank Ricotta again. We're broadcasting on equities.com around the world. We're on the Traders Network, Davos 2019, and just like to extend a very big thank you to Ben Yablon. we're very fortunate because he is one of the industry experts when it comes to this market on a broader space, from custody, not only just custody, but regulatory guidance. He's been a leader over the last year and been very instrumental in getting some much needed policy and guidance out in the world. Again, thank you and have a great day.
Forum is brought to you by SALT, providing fintech solutions for digital assets. Visit them at saltlending.com. Special thanks to Russia House and rosscongress.org for hosting our show here in Davos in the World Economic Forum. And a special shout out to Burst IQ for their expert commentary in blockchain and